What's up, everybody, and welcome to Aggathon's Rage Bar Episode 9, the show where you ask me questions and I drink delicious beverages. You can see there's a new addition. I'm still not used to the camera. New addition. The other night, Wicked was in town, the Broadway musical, and I went and saw it, and holy cow, it was fantastic. I loved it. It was hilarious. Great acting, phenomenal singing. If you're into theater at all and Wicked is coming to your town, go see it. Just do it. So yeah, I decided to get a signed poster with all the cast members on it, and so I'm going to get an actual frame for it, and that'll probably become a permanent fixture back there somewhere. But also, obligatory mention to the Chiefs, 7-0. Undefeated, top of the NFL. What up? That was fun. Anyways, let's move on to the drink of the week, which this week is a very delicious one. I don't think I've done a stout yet, now that I think about it, even though stouts are, in fact, my favorite beers. Guinness, for a while there in college, was a staple of my diet, which could explain how big I am. But this lovely stout is the Left Hand Brewing Company's Milk Stout. It doesn't get any smoother than this. Like, seriously, it's might as well be drinking a milkshake. It's delicious. Has everything you love about a stout in a milky smooth finish. Words may be hard tonight for some reason, and I haven't even started drinking yet. Anywho. Cheers, Internet. Throughout the show, I will be announcing the secret clue for Blizz Master's scavenger hunt. As you go through and you watch all the different shows and you read through their articles, they're scattered about, I think 4 clues in shows, 4 clues in articles, and it gives you a chance to win game time and a free armored mount. So be watching through my show and it'll come up. Mine is the last clue to air, I believe. Anyway, I don't think I have any other real important announcements for now. Other than I'm going on vacation in a month. I can't wait. I need a vacation bad. Subsequently, there's probably not going to be an episode there, but yeah, it's in a while. It's just on my mind because I need a vacation. So let's go ahead and just hop right on into the questions. And the first question is, why are there so fewer tanks queuing for LFR in Siege of Orgrimmar? From Tangenstein. I have noticed that my queue times have gone down significantly. It used to be about the same time to queue for DPS as tanks, sometimes even faster, especially in Throne of Thunder. But this time, this patch, my queue times are real short as a tank. And I think I know why. It is because this tier, the onus is so much more on the tanks than it has been in any LFR tier thus far. Now, one of the things I'm working on in my spare time, I'm hoping to get it out. I've been delaying it a little bit, both out of not as much free time as I'd like, and the fact that all of LFR isn't out yet, but I'm going to be releasing a how to tank LFR in 60 seconds or less guide. I think it's going to be 60 seconds or less per wing, just because there are some fights that I feel like they need a little bit more explanation, like Spoils of Pandaria, for example. But basically, I feel like this is the first tier where in LFR, tanks really need to know what the heck they're doing. I mean, we can go fight by fight. Mercius, whatever. I mean, I can one tank that. The DPS is usually good enough that you're not going to get more than 2 stacks of the corrosive blast, and the intermediate phase like resets your stacks. So I mean, you never get 3. 2's not going to kill you at LFR. So you can pretty much, if you have any decent gear, like 530 or above, probably you could probably solo tank and Mercius and LFR. Not that difficult. Fallen Protector is a little more difficult. You at least have to know what you're doing. Maybe tank it a few times, but it's still a pretty easy tank fight. Norshin, I could see if you get pulled down below and you don't know what you're doing, I can see tanks dying on that. So probably a little more difficult. Again, though, it's still pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of wiggle room there. Shaw of Pride, I mean, there's not even Wounded Pride at LFR, so Shaw of Pride, again, might as well one tank it. That's a snooze fest of a tank fight right there. All the tank does is, I would sit here and tank, oh, someone's prisoned, I step back 2 feet and release them. Like, that's easy. So, first wing, yeah. Second wing, however, wee bit different of a story. Gallicrass, I have had friends rage to me over and over again about, like, oh my god, these tanks are so terrible, how are they doing this fight? And really, I can kind of see, like, of the hard tank fights in LFR, Gallicrass is probably the easiest hard one. But, like, you gotta have, your tanks need to coordinate. One needs to go up to the towers, one needs to stay down. The one that stays down, I've never stayed down, I always just do the towers. So I don't know how important in LFR it is to, like, stun the shamans and stuff like that, but I assume it's kind of whatever. So really, not that big of a deal for tanking down below, but tanking upstairs, I mean, if you screw up, you get knocked down, things could kill you. There's some tricks that people may not know that make it a lot easier. If DPS aren't going up with you, then you could be up there tanking for a long time, and then people might get mad at you because you're not helping the tank down below. I don't know, it's that fight, if people don't know what they're doing, can become a cluster F real fast. But if you have 2 tanks that know what they're doing and a couple DPS that kind of follow around and a healer, then it's cake. Iron Juggernaut's another one that's still pretty easy. I mean, you need a tank to go around and click on the mines. Technically in LFR, anyone can really click on the mines. They're not going to really die to it. But usually it's the tank that should do it, and the tank that really knows what to do. There is some modicum of tank damage, so maybe it's hard to heal, or if you have bad tanks. Like, I've seen tanks that just are not geared for the right stuff, like not properly gemmed or enchanted, or not gemmed or enchanted at all. I've watched them just get flattened. Like, tanks that have like 500,000 hit points. Like, I have more hit points than them in my Proc gear, or in my Fury gear, and they just get flattened. And I can see how that's an issue. But again, Iron Juggernaut, yeah. Dark Shamans is one where the tanks really need to be good, though. Now, a lot of times in LFR, there might be someone with like a 3rd tank spec, and they'll do the cheesy, like, alright, we're going to run up the hill over here, and we're going to tank, what's it, Harem, Earthbinder or whatever, the melee guy. We're going to take him up the hill with melee and a couple healers, and we're just going to taunt swap, and then the one tank that's left needs to actually like kite around, and all the ranged DPS is down there killing the slimes. That makes it a whole lot easier. If you don't have that, 2 tanking that in LFR, that can become problematic, because the tanks really have to have very good raid awareness. They need to know where to drop the ashen walls. They need to know how the slime mechanic works, that they're being targeted by it, that it's going to do a whole lot of damage to them if they don't move, that they probably need to kite the slimes away, that they can get aggro on the slimes so that they prevent like eating range DPS, that they can do stuns to the slimes that really help manage the whole thing. There's a whole lot of things that tanks can do to manage that, especially if there's only 2, because then you got to know like when to taunt swap, where the other tank is going. If the other tank has to deal with some mechanic and they run off, you got to make sure to go follow them. Then you got to make sure they're still in the range of healers. Dark Shamans, if you don't have 2 good tanks, I can easily see that being like one of the more frustrating LFR fights ever. So yeah, what do you guys think about Dark Shaman? Has that been an issue for you guys? And then General Nazgrim comes up, and General Nazgrim, Uh, he's not he's not as important to fight as Dark Shaman, but you can definitely tell the difference between good tanks and bad tanks. And if they don't understand how the taunt swap mechanic works, and that the taunt swap mechanic, if you're not taunting, like as soon as your stacks fall off, if you're getting to 5 or 6 stacks even uh, of the debuff, even in LFR, you're gonna start spawning Ravagers, and it's just gonna kill the raid. It's gonna be bad. I've done ones where the other tank just isn't taunting. I'm like yelling at them to taunt. I've got like 10 stacks of the debuff. I'm just taking it to the face. Ravagers are spawning left and right. And it was like, ooh, why'd we wipe? Well, because the other tank didn't know what to do. Um, so, and then, really good tanks know when they can leave and go help and like lock down shamans and, all the ads and can help people and they can move around and then go back and tank the boss again without their off tank or other tank really getting that many stacks. So, Malkarak, that one's pretty easy as long as you have someone on the raid that knows how to mark stuff. And even then, Malkarak, I've never really had a problem with it in LFR. Maybe it's because I mark the stuff as best I can. But spoils, though, that's a tough one for tanks for 2 reasons. One, because if the tank doesn't know how to pop boxes, people that do know how to pop boxes are going to get really frustrated. They're just going to start popping boxes. Or there's going to be people that have no idea what the boxes do, and they're going to start popping boxes. So then the tank needs to, like, recognize, like, it's really important. Like, you should probably yell at people and be like, I know how to pop boxes. Don't pop my boxes. Only let tanks pop boxes. That's important. If you don't know how to pop boxes, like, ask someone. Because really the tank should be doing it, I feel, because they have a feel for their damage intake and how fast it's going. I feel like it really should be a tank-driven thing. Now, fortunately in LFR, you can only have so many boxes open, which is both good and bad, because I'm fairly well geared, so in LFR, when I'm still trying to get a frickin' non-502 shield, when I'm trying any method I can get to get a better than 502 shield, I'm doing Spoils of Pandaria. I'm relatively well geared otherwise. I'm not heroic geared or anything like that, but I can tank a lot of those boxes in LFR. But it won't let me open them because I can only open so many boxes. So that's good because it's harder for the raid to wipe you, and if you're really on top of it and you're opening the boxes as much as possible, then the people can't wipe you by pulling too many boxes. So that's nice. But again, the tanks really got to watch out for like other people doing that. They have to know how to do it correctly. They got to know, I don't want 2 of these up, or I can't have this guy up as well. If I get to this, I should probably stop for a little bit, And so spoils, I really feel like is one where you really need to have a tank that's just on the ball. And then Thok is, that's another one where, like, if you have a well-geared tank, they can one-tank it. If you don't, it's just pretty simple taunt swap. You just got to know to get the jailer and open the jails. Like, but really a DPS could probably do that, so I don't know if that's really a tank mechanic. But I've gone through all the fights thus far. Today, well, right now it's tomorrow, but when this gets released, it'll be today. When the rest of the instance is released, when we have Siegecrafter, Paragons, and Garrosh in LFR. And that wing, I can see Siegecrafter possibly being an issue. I think tanks kind of have to be on top of that. Depends on how they do it. If they make it so that the ad can't heal. I don't know. I think in an LFR version, Paragons is going to end up being pretty easy. And Garish, I don't know. If he doesn't hit hard, then I don't know. We'll have to see how that one shakes out in LFR, because there's a lot of raid movement, and that may just be a hard fight just for raids, but it may be pretty easy for tanks. I don't know. But anyways, the point is, this raid tier, more than any, even in LFR, requires tanks that know what the heck they're doing. If you have a clueless tank, you're probably going to be wiping a lot. It's going to get real frustrating. A lot of my friends have been just saying how annoying it is. My roommate actually won't even queue for Wing 2 of LFR unless he's queuing with a tank he knows. He's that frustrated with it. So the reason why tanks haven't been queuing is because it's actually hard. And tanks get blamed a lot. They probably don't like to get yelled at. So that's all fine and dandy, but I mean that's the real reason tanks don't want to queue. It's too much. I don't know if it's too much effort. If they don't think they're good enough, probably a combination of some of those things maybe, or just not want to get yelled at, or don't think it's fun. I personally think it's fun. I like it, and I like that LFR is actually requiring people to have some modicum of, oh hey, I should do this, instead of just, oh hey look, the boss died. So yeah, that's the reason. I think I've beat that one to death. Next question is, oh hey, look, it's a clue. This is scavenger hunt clue. It says number 1. It's really the last one, so I think it should be 4. But the clue is potion. Go to blizzmaster.com/contest, and you could win. Huzzah! Alright, next question. With the simplification over time of classes bringing us into more of a 15 to 16 button max of useful skills and Blizzard's desire to reduce button bloat, as well as their recent push to put Diablo on consoles, what do you think the likelihood of seeing a console version of WoW in an attempt to prolong its lifespan? He misspelled span. This is spam. While we wait for Titan, from Rex. This is a scary question for me to answer, because I want to scream at the top of my lungs, no! But I could actually see them doing it. Here is the number 1 reason why I would be so scared of this. So this is what I'm afraid of from console gamers. In case you can't tell, yes, I'm making fun of keyboard turners. Oh my god, I can't imagine turning with a console. I had a program once that could allow me to use a PS3 controller on my computer, and I wanted to try and fire that up again to actually try and do a bit of an instance with a console controller to see if it was done. Maybe I'll do that as a separate video sometime, but I didn't really have time for it tonight. Maybe I'll do that sometime and see what happens, but the point is, I feel like Blizzard should have learned their lesson with StarCraft 64. There are some computer games that do not belong on a console. I think World of Warcraft is one of them. Like hack and slash RPGs, first person RPGs, like Skyrim, stuff like that. I can see that working. I honestly think Skyrim is a worse game because it is available for the console, because the inventory setup is so freaking atrocious. Just not being able to use a mouse in WoW, just sure, maybe it's possible, or maybe if one of the next gen games has a ability to use a mouse, like with a PS4 or something like that, then maybe. But otherwise, ugh. You think LFR is bad now? Think of LFR with all the frickin' console tanks. Um, Having said that, I could sort of see Blizzard doing it, but I honestly don't think they would do it unless there was a clear method for them to do it, such as a keyboard and mouse available for a console and one of the new consoles. So I'm gonna go with no, but I'm not ruling it out. Next question. With an item level squish on the horizon, God, I hope so, and our levels getting closer to 100, what are your thoughts on maybe stealing an idea from the Final Fantasy MMOs and be able to level as a secondary class? Um, so I'll admit I had to ask my fellow tank spotters in the shout box that actually play Final Fantasy 14 how this works because I've never done it before. I don't know. Um, for those of you that don't play Final Fantasy 14, here's how it works. Say you're going around and you have a sword and board, and that makes you a paladin. Now you pick up a two-handed axe. All of a sudden, you're now a marauder, a level 1 marauder, regardless of what level your paladin was. Now you're a level 1 marauder. Same character, lower level, different skills, completely different class. Then, let's say that a marauder has a special ability. We'll call it Blargdy Blig. And once this marauder gets to Nargdy Flarg level, they can use Blargdy Blig as a paladin. So when they go back to paladin, they still have this ability. It's not all abilities, just like certain ones, so that you can sort of customize your character class. So you can level your wizard and marauder and your Nargaflargan and be a paladin with the Blurgdy Blarg and the Snargleflarg. And you have all these different abilities as, but then like you pick up a mace and now you're a monk. So like you can easily switch between all these different classes and roles. I don't know if Final Fantasy XIV has a spec system, but I view this as very similar to a spec system, and I feel like the really easy way to get around all of this, to be able to do exactly what Final Fantasy XIV does, is to make all gear bind on account instead of bind on player. That way, because right now, say your alt spec is a monk in Final Fantasy XIV, then you can and you get, and monk gear drops, you can take it and give it to your monk. Now, how the roll system works there is you can't, when the boss dies, whatever class you are, you can't roll need on an item that's not the class you were when the boss died. So if there's a person that killed the boss as a monk, they get first dibs on the loot. So you would have to hope that no one needed it and you could greet it then. Which Blizzard has already implemented to an extent. Now that was before the LFR loot system changed. I think with the Flex and LFR loot system, that's all a complete non-issue. And you could then just pick okay, I don't want my spec to drop, I want my monk spec to drop. You go even further than just your own class personalization. You could do an instance for your alt. And at that point, it becomes really the same thing. The only difference is you have to log off and log on. And if everything else is shared through all your characters, then I feel like it's functionally the same thing. But I mean, they're sharing flags, achievements, gear, like everything that one has, the other has all the access to. Do I think Blizzard would do this? Not in the next expansion. I don't think at level 100. I don't think something like that would be dictated by number of levels or item level squish or anything like that. I think it would be dictated by how many people are still subscribing to the game. Because as the game ages, you're going to run out of certain roles. You're going to run out of people that can tank. You're going to run out of people that can heal. And what you need to be able to do then is allow, you need to bring the player, not the class, to the nth level. And it's not even, you know, if that player has another tune of the same, class or whatever, they can just go. So, I think if they need more people to be able to do all three of the triad roles, tank, healing, and DPS, then yeah, maybe they'd implement something like this. I don't think, because of their refusal to change how PvP works, that they would ever do the cross-sharing of abilities. They would have to completely redo how PvP is done. They would need abilities, like in Final Fantasy XIV, they would need abilities to do completely different things in PvP than they do in PvE. I don't think they're willing to do that revamp. I don't think they're willing to screw with that balancing. I mean, just having one ability from another class as a warrior or a mage could just be vastly overpowered, and balancing around that seems like a whole lot of unnecessary work. So ultimately, no, I don't really think they would do something exactly like that. At least not in the next expansion. I think once WoW is beyond its twilight years and WoW is a senior citizen, maybe in 5 or 10 years from now, if the servers are still even up, which I bet they will be, then maybe something like that would happen, but not now. Alright, so let's go on to the next question, and it is: what impact do you feel that the additional devs freed up from Titan may have on the new expansion? With the change to increasing the level cap by 10 instead of 5, like Kata and Mop, can we expect the leveling process to be more fully fleshed out, or more of a slog, depending on your point of view? From Brillen. I don't know that freed up devs from Titan necessarily means that how the leveling structure is going to work in the next expansion is going to fundamentally change, or be more fleshed out. I think the fact that it's 10 levels means that it's probably going to be more fleshed out. I don't know if that's going to work out for Blizzard. I think at this point, a lot of people just don't really like leveling anymore. Well, I don't know, maybe that's putting my own personal bias on there. There's still a lot of ultaholics out there that like leveling, that like questing, so I really probably shouldn't say that. I'm not really sure what 10 levels as opposed to 5 really gets them in this instance. Maybe they have something planned out. Maybe they just want it to take longer, because let's face it, in the last 2 expansions, people have hit max level the day of release, like within 24 hours. It's been ridiculous. And maybe they want that process to last just a little longer, and that's fine. If they do have the extra resources and can really make that work, then that sounds good. And I think ultimately over time, Blizzard's just been getting better and better and better at doing quests. Not necessarily, making a whole zone congruent, but I have enjoyed doing quests more than I have in vanilla TBC, Wrath even, to an extent. And I really think that actually they did a really good job with the Cataclysm 1 through 60 revamps. I think quests were really good. The only discord they have right now is that if you have like the 300% XP gain from either recruit a friend or the flasks you can farm, and then a lot of like the heirloom gear on top of that, then you end up like outstripping a zone just really, really, really fast, and you don't get the whole story of that zone. Which some people may not care about, especially if they've got all those flasks and the heirloom gear. They just want to get to max level as fast as possible, and that's fine. But my point is that I think that Blizzard has gotten really, really good at doing quests, and I think that I think that if they do have more resources because of freed up devs from Titan, then yeah, I don't see why the leveling process wouldn't be more flushed out. Having said that, I don't think that Titan being canceled necessarily means that all of those devs go to WoW. I think there's still a lot of work being done on Diablo 3. We have Heart of the Legacy of the Void coming up. Um, I imagine a lot of devs went to work on Hearthstone and will probably continue to work on Hearthstone. I think that, and even if they do go back and work on WoW, who's to say that that's where the resources are going to be allocated? It's going to be to the leveling experience. I would like to believe that if Blizzard puts effort into stuff, it's going to be into raiding and making flex rate even better in the next expansion, and continue to provide us just really quality raid content that's just second to no other in MMO, in my opinion. I'd like to think that that's where those resources would go. I don't know if it'll go to the leveling, or if it even needs to. I guess we'll find out. Especially, I have a feeling that at BlizzCon they're probably going to announce something about why they want the leveling experience to be more than 5 levels, and why they're going to bump it up to 100. So that'll be interesting. Anyways, I think that's going to be about all for this episode of Aggathon's Rage Bar. So go ahead and keep sending me those questions, especially since BlizzCon is coming up. Ask me some BlizzCon questions. As always, you can follow me on Twitter and send me questions on Twitter, and that's at Aggathon. Or you can hop over to tankspot.com and send a private message to the username Aggathon. That's all for this week. Have a good week, guys.